Dorn goes fastest. Rastoni goes up into 7th. And Hughes is still in 4th place, and he might just make it through, and he does. Jake Hughes is through. Vern misses out. Stoffel Vandoorne, Nick Cassidy, Eduardo Mortara, and Jake Hughes are the drivers that will advance for the first time this season. Sebastian Buemi won't be in the duels. Here comes Da Costa. What can he do? Second. Lost a lot of time in the final sector. He remains in 2nd place. Bird across the line remains quickest. Gunter jumps up into 2nd. That pushes Nato out. Nato is still out qualified. Sasha Fenestraz running the 2nd time this season. Dennis 7th. Bird, Gunter, Da Costa and Evans will be advancing through to the duels. Nato missing out through to the duels next. First quarter-final will be Eduardo Mortara versus Nick Cassidy. This is going to be a close one. Mortara does a 1 minute 12.132. Cassidy now, 2 more corners to come. He's 300ths back. Can he get it at the final corner? It's 500s now between them. It's all or nothing here for Cassidy. Bit of a slide as he gets on the power, and he doesn't do it. By 200ths of a second, Eduardo Mortara is through to the semi-finals.
Here we go, Hughes versus Vandoorne.
Hughes coming up to turn 7. There's 300ths between them. Hughes has overdone it. I thought he was going in the wall, but I think he's thrown the lap away, Jake Hughes. He's won every quarter-final he's been in so far this season, but wait for the tower on the left-hand side to take a huge leap in Stoffel Vandoorne's advantage.
So, very comfortable. So it wasn't as close as we thought, but it would have been if Hughes hadn't gone deep there at turn 7.
Antonio Felix da Costa versus Max Gunter. The gap goes up to just over 1/10 of a second. Here comes Gunter, needs a big final 2 turns if he's going to close in. Bit understeery there for Gunter. He's still closing the gap a tiny bit, but I don't think it's going to be enough across the line. It's not. Da Costa is through into the semi-finals. Da Costa has found his qualifying form. Mitch Evans versus Sam Bird. 0.2 of a second in Evans' advantage at the moment. Through the final corner comes Mitch Evans. It's neat and tidy. Bird's closing the gap though. Evans does an 11.8. That's a rapid lap time from Mitch Evans. Bird now towards the final corner. The 90-degree right-hander on the power across the line. Evans is through. Semi-final wise then, Eduardo Mortara versus Stoffel Vandoorne. Has Vandoorne still got the advantage? Yes, and it's grown to a couple of 10ths of a second. Little grimace for James Rossiter on the left-hand side. Grows a little more. Nigel Beresford and Jay Penske watching on the right-hand side. Out across the line. And it is Vandoorne who's through. Semi-final 2. Antonio Felix da Costa versus Mitch Evans. Through the final corner comes Antonio Felix da Costa, sets the benchmark time, and Evans has lost a lot of time. There's 9,000ths between them. The front row of the grid is up for grabs. There's 5,000ths between them. It's all about the final corner. Evans drives to the line and doesn't make it. Da Costa's through by 400ths of a second. Antonio Felix da Costa, the winner of the last race, is on the front row of the grid for this one. The final will be Antonio Felix da Costa versus Stoffel Vandoorne. The Tag Heuer Porsche versus the DS Penske into the first chicane at turns 1 and 2. Oh, was that a lockup maybe from Vandoorne? Looked like a little puff of white smoke potentially from the front right. Da Costa carrying so much speed through turn 4. And there's barely anything between them, 200ths of a second. So it didn't cost Vandoorne time. He's arriving at turns 4, 5 and 6 now.
It's only 69 thousandths as Vandoorne heads towards turn 7. It is so important to sight the braking point here. It is a little bit bumpy, as we saw Jake Hughes get caught out earlier on, but he does get the nose in nicely. Da Costa now up to the penultimate corner into the last one. Super close to the wall. That's a clean run out.
Vandoorne's got the advantage at the moment. Da Costa does an 11.9, but there's less than a 10th between them. Can Vandoorne hold on to this? Coming into the final corner, it's almost a 10th of a second. It's going to be 9 pole sitters in 9 races, is it here? The reigning champion takes pole position. Stoffel Vandoorne is back for DS Penske and will start at the front for the Julius Baer São Paulo E-Prix.